guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is entitled Mom Demands I Give Her My Driveway. This just happened. I was having a great morning with my wife and kids when my neighbor texted me. We have never spoken in the 6 to 7 years that we have lived here, and she has always given me and my family dirty looks. This never bothered me, but it always bothered my wife. We never knew why she did this, but today we found out. Side note. Her husband seems like a decent guy who just acts like he is defeated by his wife. The few times that I have spoken to him, the conversation has always gotten cut short because his wife needed him for something. My house has a very long driveway. The driveway leads up a hill to my house at the top. The bottom quarter of the driveway is shared by my two neighbors. They have to drive up it to get into their garages. My side yard overlooks one neighbor's backyard while my backyard overlooks the other's backyard. My pool is in my backyard. Basically, she wants me to give her my driveway so she can build an in-ground pool for her kids. Her kids are a nightmare, and she has never controlled them. She just lets them run around and do whatever they want all day. I still don't fully understand why she needs the rights to my driveway to do that, but she did not like being told no. If I'm being honest, I did get angry and a little immature during the conversation, but I felt it was warranted for the situation. She thought that threatening and making racist comments about my kids would be the best way to get me to do what she wants. My kids are half Korean, half European. Update. So, I went out with my family earlier today. When we got home, she had blocked off our driveway with traffic cones. I moved them over to block her garage and texted her to let her know. I told my other neighbor about what happened, and he said that he heard about her sneaking around on her husband. I was angry, got a little petty and brought it up. I'm still waiting for a response. Update 2. So, she never responded to my last text, but she called me a few times today. I was at work so I didn't answer. She left me such a lovely voicemail lol. I had to trim it, but my name is still in there and I don't feel like re-trimming and re-uploading. It's been a long day. She says that she is going to build her pool with or without my signature and that I should sign LMAO. In the end she says to do the right thing and calls me a witch, but I wasn't sure how appropriate that is for SoundCloud, so I edited it out. You guys all have some great advice about how to handle this situation, but I haven't decided what to do yet. I don't want to escalate too much because my family has to live right near her. I also feel like I can't do nothing because it will only get worse. I will let you guys know once I decide how to handle this. The next story is titled, U.S. Navy Aircraft Carrier Float Coat Petty Revenge. Disclaimers. Wasn't me. I do not know who did it, but I was there to witness it. It made me smile. U.S. naval aircraft carrier standards may be different today, as well as other types of ships, but for tonight's story I'll tell it how it was for aircraft carriers back in the 90s. I classify this as petty. Nobody was injured, other than some fuel paid for by the taxpayers. Definitions for those not familiar with U.S. aircraft carriers. Float coat. When working on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier as maintainers, i.e., not flight crew, all personnel wore vests of various colors depending on your job. If you fall overboard into the ocean, this vest inflates automatically when it comes into contact with salt water and inflates as a life preserver. C02 cartridges set off. It also has a salt water activated strobe light, a whistle, and a manual tube to breath air into the vest. 12 on 12 off. When working on board a carrier, there were 2 shifts. Day shift 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and night shift 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Might have been 7 to 7, don't remember. Something along those lines, 7 days a week. General quarters. When in battle, all personnel must go to their assigned battle stations and be ready for battle. Leaders must take a head count and report that all personnel are accounted for. Man overboard. If someone falls into the ocean, all personnel have to muster with their leaders and be accounted for. Leaders get a head count, see who's missing, ideally nobody, and report all accounted for. Drills. We practice general quarters and man overboard, so when the shit hits the fan, we're ready. Squadron. A number of aircraft flown and maintained by the same group of naval personnel. A squadron is normally assigned to a specific carrier but can be shuffled as needed. On to the story. The carrier set out for a 2-week training detachment with our squadron and various other aircraft squadrons on board. This was to train, qualify pilots for carrier operations. I was a maintainer on night shift. I worked 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and slept from around 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or thereabouts. Everyone else on night shift did the same. The second day on board, there was a general quarters drill at around 11 a.m. While night shift is dead asleep, we all had to get out of bed and report to our battle stations. Third day man overboard drill at 1 p.m., all out of bed and muster. Fourth day same shit 12 p.m. Fifth day same shit. Sixth day same shit. We're starting to notice there's no drills during night shift while day shift is sound asleep. Could it be because the captain and all the officers work day shift? So, on the sixth night at 2 a.m. the alarm sounds for man overboard. The entire boat, 5,000 plus personnel, have to muster for a head count. The choppers do a night launch for search and rescue. They see a strobe light in the ocean and proceed with rescue operations. They pulled up an empty float coat, all inflated with the strobe light flashing from saltwater activation, but no one inside. Man overboard head count an hour later accounted for all personnel aboard the ship. Nobody fell overboard. Just an empty float coat. Lol. All of us on night shift knew what this was. Some night shift sailor was sick and tired of being woken up 5 days in a row for nonsensical drills and wanted to hand it back to the man. Woke all day shift officers up in the middle of the night for nothing. Just like they did to us 5 days in a row. And it worked. No more drills during night shift sleeping hours for the rest of the detachment. To this day, to my knowledge, nobody has ever claimed this masterpiece of petty revenge. Whoever you are, I salute you. The next story is titled, My Grass or Your Cul-de-sac? I live on a dirt road and while I own it 3 other families have the right to drive it so as to allow them to access their property. All good. Where the road curves, over time, gravel has built up well off the road and visually made that portion look like an abandoned parking lot. A sad sight next to my forest of trees and our sparkling river. In the blazing heat of August, I toiled. I scrapped up the gravel, watered, to force more gravel up to the surface, scrapped, hauled, raked, and sweated. My neighbors shook their collective heads as they saw me working. 3 dump trucks of soil arrived, raking, smoothing and finally joyful planting. A small flowering tree, hundreds of lily bulbs, daffodils, grass seed, bushes have replaced the gravel wasteland. Now my phone rings. Mr. Wonderful, the neighbor at the end of the road wants to talk to me. We meet at my worksite. He wants me to explain what I am doing. Fine, I explain. He tells me my work is a waste of time. Fine, I am okay with trying. He informs me that the whole community uses that area as a turnaround. The whole community is him. No one else would ever need to use it. I am still okay. I tell him that if he needs to drive on my grass a bit to turn his boat around, I am okay with that. He asks why I did not tell him what my plans were. I come up with some version of, what? Why would I check with you about planting grass on my yard and oh, by the way, you have driven past me doing this work for days. If you were so interested, you could have asked. But now you know, I am planting grass. The mask dissolves. His 6 feet plus self hops off his golf cart and growls. No, I am going to tell you what you are going to do. Mr. Wonderful informs me that the land is not legally mine as he is claiming it through adverse possession. I laughed. I am 5 feet 1 inch and was totally terrified inside, but I am not going to cede an inch. Towering over me, with spit-flying screams that I can expect to be in court facing a judge because he is not giving me his property. And the threats keep coming. By now other neighbors have come over to witness the fuss. He keeps at it. When he stops for a breath, I said to everyone, I am so glad you are all here. I am planting grass on my property. If you are called to court to testify, please do not worry about offending me, I will not be angry. And regardless of the outcome of the case, if any of you need to encroach on the grass to turn vehicles around, you have my full permission. Except for you, Mr. Wonderful. You are never to touch my property. My daffodils came up this spring, the lilies are sprouting, and no court summons has arrived. The next story is titled, The Bus Ride and the Entitled Passenger. I live in a bustling city where public transportation is a necessity for most people, including myself. One morning, as I boarded my usual bus to work, I noticed it was more crowded than usual, and all the seats were taken. No big deal, I thought, as I grabbed onto a handrail and prepared for the ride. A few stops later, an elderly woman with a cane boarded the bus. Seeing her struggle to maintain her balance, I quickly offered her my spot by the handrail. She thanked me, and I shuffled further back into the bus to make room for her. That's when I encountered the entitled passenger. She was a well-dressed woman in her late 30s, sitting comfortably in one of the priority seats reserved for the elderly, disabled, or pregnant. She was scrolling through her phone, seemingly oblivious to the elderly woman who had just boarded. Feeling it was the right thing to do, I politely asked the woman if she would mind giving up her priority seat for the elderly woman with the cane. The entitled passenger looked up from her phone, rolled her eyes, and scoffed. "Why should I?" she snapped. "I got here first. She can stand just like everyone else." I was taken aback by her response but persisted, explaining that the priority seats were designated for people who might need them more, like the elderly woman who was clearly struggling to stand. The entitled passenger huffed, "Well, I'm not moving. I have a long day ahead of me, and I deserve this seat." Feeling frustrated, I looked around for support from my fellow passengers. Fortunately, a kind man sitting nearby had overheard our conversation and offered his seat to the elderly woman, who gratefully accepted. As the bus continued on its route, the entitled passenger remained in her priority seat, smirking and scrolling through her phone, seemingly proud of her refusal to give up her seat for someone in need. It was a stark reminder that entitled people can be found anywhere, even on a crowded city bus. While it's disappointing to witness such selfish behavior, it's heartening to know that there are still kind and considerate individuals who are willing to step up and do the right thing in the face of entitlement. The last story is titled, "Screw Your HOA and Its Ridiculous Rules." Back in high school, I was all about my car. Don't get me wrong, it was a rolling POS, but it was my car. It had a trade-in value of maybe $5, but it was my car. I was learning how to take care of it, by which I mean I found where the dipstick was and how to pull it. I hadn't yet moved on to tire inflation. One step at a time. One day after school I drove over to my friend's place. We jump out, pop the hood, pull the dipstick, check the oil, and it was fine, so put the hood back down. I had no idea what an HOA was nor what it meant. I was just a happy ignorant teenager eager to demonstrate how responsible I was with my wheels. A few days go by and we're hanging out at my friend's place when his mom comes home. She starts giving us the business in that, I'm annoyed but trying not to be, voice about a warning she received from the HOA regarding repairing cars in your driveway, complete with a photo of my POS with the hood up. Really, she was being pretty good, though clearly annoyed. We explained that we weren't repairing anything, that I was just checking the oil level, and didn't even need any tools. Picture just had the hood up. She softened quite a bit, and the focus of her annoyance shifted from us to the HOA, since it's entirely reasonable for anyone to check the level of oil in a car. She finds her copy of the HOA rules and we all read them together. Sure enough, there's a bylaw that says you can't repair a car in the driveway. I protest that I wasn't repairing anything, I was just checking the oil. Reading the exact rules on exactly what was forbidden sparked an idea. I look at my friend, raise an eyebrow, and say, "Fight the power? Fight the power." I propose my plan to his mom and ask for permission since she's going to have to deal with the fallout. She's on board since she thinks this is supremely stupid, and we set in motion. Cue the MC. Every day after school my friend and I drove our POS machines to his place, parked in their driveway, raised the hoods, and just looked at the engines. No tools, we weren't even near them. We didn't check the oil, we didn't so much as touch them nor wipe them down with a rag. All we did was expose them to the birds, the sky, and God above to just let them breathe. After a while I got bored, so I started setting up an easel and drawing my engine 10 minutes at a time. My friend had to one-up me, so decided he needed some tasteful artistic photos with his engine. He judged the best photos would be him laying over the engine shirtless, stroking and fake kissing it. Just absurd, over-the-top moronic high schooler stuff. Predictably the HOA was on us like stink on shit. The warnings quickly turned into fines, complete with pictures of both vehicles with their hoods up. Then more pictures with mine with its hood up and an easel in front. Then even more pictures with my friend's with its hood up, him laying in the engine compartment and me taking pictures of him with a camera. Soon enough his mom let us know it was time for the monthly HOA meeting. Of course, all three of us had to go in person to protest the fines. So, the motley pair of us show up along with his mom, and his mom's stack of fine notices. I bring along my engine drawing, and we printed some of my friend's engine photos larger than normal. After a while it was new business time, and my friend's mom steps up. I'm pretty sure they expected her to play the "my son and his friend are morons. Please make these fines go away since I didn't know what they were doing" sympathy card. Nope, not a chance. She politely but firmly attested that she was being sent fines for something that wasn't in the bylaws and asked the board to stop. One of the board members spoke up saying that working on cars was against the bylaws, and clearly that's what was going on since both hoods were up. Oh, you should have seen their faces when she corrected them that the bylaw said no repairs were allowed, that there were no repairs going on in any of the pictures since no tools were visible, and that we were just doing art projects for school. Even longer faces were seen when she showed my, truthfully completely terrible, drawing of my engine, along with the date stamped a couple weeks ago pictures. This was back when film cameras stamped a date directly on the picture, of my friend trying to seduce his engine. The HOA president called for a 5-minute recess, during which the board huddled in a corner of the room. After the recess, the president succinctly said, "Ma'am, we are going to dismiss all your fines. Have a nice evening." We damn near danced out of that meeting. Being the obnoxious shitheads that my friend and I were, we had to do the drawing, photo routine a few more times just to make sure they weren't going to start sending more fines. They wisely didn't, and being victorious we soon found other ways to annoy them. Thank you for listening.